Hello, everyone. I am Melissa Forziat. I'm a keynote speaker and the host of this Daisy Jones and the Six Rewatch podcast. Now, when I speak, my topic is something I call Take the Doughnut, which is another way to say carpe diem. It is all about going after the things that you want in life. And something that I wanted to do this year was rewatch the show Daisy Jones and the Six, but talk about it this time with other people, which has been such a blast. And so this is going to be really fun today because I'm going to do an interview with one of the cast members. And before I introduce her, I just wanted to do a quick housekeeping item here. If you've never seen the show before, the episode recaps are safe for you up until the episode that you're on. I try to be spoiler free in those. But these interviews, we could mention any detail from any episode. So just be aware of that up front. And if you haven't seen the show, maybe just binge it real quick and come back. That's a good way to spend your time, I think. But if you're ready to watch this interview, I'm so excited to be speaking with Lily Donoghue, who played Lisa Crowne in episodes 9 and 10. Welcome.
Hello. Hi. Thank you for having me.
This is so exciting. I mean, uh, I'm so happy to have you here. I feel like you're so happy to be
I
here.
am. I
This is going to
am.
be great.
This is going to be really cool. I didn't know Take the Donut was that kind of meaning. So I'm gonna carry that with me.
I mean, I invented it really. So I'm
Take the
here to tell
donut.
you that's what it's all about. It's just, seize the donut, seize the moments.
I like it. Okay,
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Well, so, okay, lots of questions to ask about this show, but I think we need to start at the very
cool.
beginning here. How
Yes.
did you get on the show to begin with?
Holy cow. Well, I remember I it had been casting for a while, like pre-COVID. I remember I got sent like a script for it, like just to put it on my radar, but I was somewhere else and I was shooting something, so I didn't I knew though that it was like people I remember were talking a lot about this book and then but I didn't read for it and then like I think 2 years later I got like my manager at the time got like a request for me to read for specifically Lisa. And so I don't even know if I was submitted. I think I just got asked to tape and then I ended up taping it for like 4 hours because I was so paranoid about what it meant to be cast like as a famous SNL actress. I was like, what does that even mean? How do I even convey that kind of energy? And then not for nothing, like the cast of Daisy Jones is pretty famous already. So I was like, how the heck do I even like seem like this? But um I remember I just like went and found like a vintage scarf and yeah, I did the tape and I found it, I booked it. And that was
Wow.
it.
So
So,
this and
yeah.
so the scarf like gave you like the
It was
attitude that you
super
needed or the
70s.
energy.
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
it helps like I do think like the vibe. I do feel close to like a certain kind of relaxed 70s vibe anyway. So, um but yeah, there was something about I think the scarf was it was like this black like silky see-through kind of thing and like I think I don't smoke, but I had a cigarette in the tape and I just threw it on and I found out I got it and I was really excited. So, because it's just, I mean, yeah, it's like it was a really special project at its time and everybody was really excited about it. So
It's
I was
got to
like,
be tough because I mean, if you're doing an audition in a room with people, you can sort of gauge their reaction to what's happening. And
yeah.
with taping, it's just like, well, this is what I did, and I hope that
Oh
this
my
is what you were
God.
looking for.
Yeah, you can really go round and round. Like I remember my friend was like, you have like try to be like Elizabeth Taylor or something like be a and I'm like that's 1950s like this is the 70s like I it was we were it, but it's always like one liners that I think I get stuck on because I don't have a ton of lines in the show but you just can do a line like so many you can really hyper fixate on it but yeah whatever we did worked so
It sure did. And there you were on this series. So, um, given that this series has a 10 episode run and you come in towards the end, how much did you know about your role when you booked it at first?
I just knew I was marrying the drummer. That's
Okay.
it.
Cool.
That's about it. Yeah.
And then, like, when did you start getting more information about it? When you showed up
So
on set?
kind of, yeah, and like that I was in like it was in the book and I knew that Warren, and so then I just kind of looked into it more, and um I think just also like piecing together doing like fittings or going to like Paramount and starting and learning about like how the shoot has been, because I did come in like at 9 and 10. So even though we were shooting out of order a little bit, it was coming in at the tail end of a shoot. So I think like the book gave me so much access to the world and the energy, and then also having it being kind of based on Fleetwood Mac is like a whole other kind of thing. And then so I just tried to kind of absorb whatever that era's energy was. But I think when met Sebastian on our first day and then like the crew, I got more information about it. So yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay. Well, when you think about other projects that you've worked on, what is stands out as different to you about working on Daisy Jones and the Six?
Well, I feel like I think just coming into it, I was intimidated by like there is star power in the project. I think it sounds so cheesy to say that, but it just had a lot of shiny around it. And I think it was the first time I experienced in that sense, like actors who had been working since I was like, I remember going to like the Hunger Games movies and seeing like Sam playing Finnick, and like I was taking my SAT still, and like to be able to like walk on set with those kinds of people was like kind of a, oh, can you hear the rain now?
Mm-mm.
You still can't? Oh, it's so cool. Are you sure?
I'm sure. Listeners, can you? No, we can't.
You can't hear the rain. Oh my God.
You have
Cool.
a really
Well,
cool mic.
so no, good. I guess sorry, this is so long-winded, but I guess it just felt like a very shiny project. And then also it just had this like kinetic energy of music. And it sounds cheesy, but like rock and roll and like a certain coolness. And I remember I kept calling my mom being like, oh my God, I'm not cool enough to be on this. It just had this super cool, unique energy. And I feel like there's not a ton of period pieces like it that is being done. So yeah,
Mm.
it was just unique on a lot of different fronts.
Yeah, beautifully said. Well, let's actually talk about some of these episodes. So, for your
Yeah.
first one was episode 9, which is feels like the first time.
Yes.
We meet Lisa for the first time. She's hosting, like you said, she's hosting Saturday Night Live. She introduces
Yeah.
Daisy Jones and the Six for their music performance. We find out she's an actress. What decisions did you make about her backstory, if any?
Oh my God. I think if any, I just tried to build off of like, what if I got to this point of my life? Like, what if I, and just tried to not necessarily do something that was like a caricature of somebody. And um Sebastian and I at that point had hung out a good amount, and like we just together decided like I remember he was asking me like what do you think like actually bonds them together, and we had really good sense of humor together off screen, so we just decided to keep leaning into that. And I think I didn't decide too much. I just tried to like allow like that presence of like what if this just, and also the set people did such a great job of like it everything looked like from that time period, so it kind of was easy to like walk on set and just kind of fill the space with um the energy you're supposed to on that day, I guess. And also
Mm.
the other actors are so professional and cool and like easygoing that it was a fun shoot day.
So it sounds like it was less about how did she get into this room as much as like she's here and what would she
Yeah.
feel like now with all the lived experience she's had.
What do you mean? Like Lisa?
Yeah, it sounds like for you it was less about like, here's all the particulars of where she's been and more
Yeah.
about like, well, what would she be like right now?
Yeah, like I mean, yeah, like where is she? Oh, I do remember kind of feeling like, well, if I was like an actress like this and I made it to Saturday Night Live, because, when you're able to host, like you're doing something right. Like you're at a certain point of your career. So I guess I kind of was like, and then that night she meets her husband. So I just kind of was trying to be in a space of like, where do you have to be internally to be that open to like the universe coming in and like giving you your, I guess, kind of like in a way, the rest of your life. But um, so yeah, I didn't try to push myself into a zone necessarily. I just tried to be open. Does that make sense?
It does. It does. I'm
Yeah.
so intrigued by your character in this show. I want to look at this moment when we see the first conversation between Warren and Lisa,
Oh my
and
God.
he approaches her at the wrap party for the show,
Yeah.
but he is no longer the driver after he approaches her.
Yeah.
So
You know
like,
what? I didn't know Warren, like throughout the whole show, was like the ladies' man, like until they were telling me about that. So that is funny. Yeah.
yeah, but there's never anybody that we meet that is he's like super well, I guess that's the point of being a ladies man, right? Like
Right.
he's not super serious about it. It's just an aspect of his character. But
Yeah.
I always would have thought that he'd be like taking the lead in all of it in his
Yeah.
life, and he's our the character we've been following, right? So he
Yeah.
approaches Lisa at the wrap party, talks about how funny she was on the show, how intimidating funny women can be, and he thinks it's a turn on. And then it's Lisa's show from that point on.
Oh,
Your character says, "You know what's a real turn
yeah.
on for me? Drummers in rock bands. You lick your lips, you look him up and down."
Oh, good.
Warren does not
Yeah.
know what to do with himself. And so
Oh,
I just think it's so funny that like I think we're supposed to be following Warren's story here, but I instantly want to know Lisa's.
aw.
Um he feels like a side character now to me. And so like I just think it's so
So
amazing you
funny.
were able to do that in
Oh,
basically seconds.
oh
So
my God.
like
That's
tell us about the choices you're making here and like what how did you see Lisa as a woman here in 1977 no less.
yeah, yeah. Okay, well, I do remember because I don't know, I think I was 23 or 24 when we were filming. And so my, well, Sebastian's like was a bit older, and I just felt like I I was transitioning just even in auditions or like past characters of playing girls. Like I think this was my first part where I'm playing like a woman.
Mm.
And so I remember feeling a little intimidated to like get that all in on like one line, and then also how to say like drummers and rock bands without it sounding like a record scratch or something. But to Sebastian's credit, and then our director Nzinga, like I just couldn't have been held better as an actor. And I just remember my acting coach saying to me, like, you as a woman, like you're dominating him. And so I just tried to stay close to like what that means and like where does that, because I feel like we all have moments and dynamics where you're either dominating or being dominated. And so honestly, it was just like a lesson for myself too, to be like, I don't know. In Lily's life, I don't get to be this person a lot. So I just try to ask myself, like, what if I did ask a man out like this? Like, what? And there's no safer place to do it than in a scene. Do you know what I mean?
Hmm.
So it was just kind of like you drop your insecurities and be the version of yourself that is just not afraid. So it was really fun. It was a really fun lesson that day, even in just that little scene.
It,
So,
you know, I'm so glad that you shared like what the intention was from the director as well, because it
yeah.
read, it really
Yeah.
did. I mean,
Yeah.
she has such a poise. Like she knows exactly what she wants. She puts
Yeah.
it out there, and she's happy to sit and wait while he squirms until he says
Yeah.
yes.
I think that was fun. That's so fun. And now, like, being a little bit older and a little bit more wise, I'm like, oh yeah, like that's how you do it. Like, it was like learning how to be, yeah, the cat and its prey kind of thing. So it's a really fun energy to play in, especially in scene work. And Sebastian and Izinga were just such safe people to like explore that with. And just to have a great scene partner too, that gives you something new each time because each time he came up and approached, it was great because he does play so like kind of squirmy that it gave me so much to be empowered by, if that makes sense. So,
Yeah, like she feeds off of it. It's so good.
yeah. Yeah.
Um, well, once again, so you, it's what one of the things I love so much about your character is that for as little time as we see you on screen, I feel like I have so much information about
Oh,
Lisa, and I feel like
yeah.
every scene that you're in leaves me feeling something very specific,
Oh,
but always something different. So this next scene cracks me up.
oh,
Um, there's this scene in Pittsburgh when I guess it's before the show they're supposed to do.
yeah.
Warren introduces Lisa to Mrs. Dunn,
Yes. Oh my
and
God.
Mrs. Dunn is a big fan. Okay,
Yeah.
she's
We played that so.
fangirling. She saw Lisa in a Gene Wilder movie, and she just takes a beat and she goes, "And you're with Warren?"
Yeah, she was great. Oh my God. You're with Lauren. Yeah, yeah.
Um,
Funny.
this scene cracks me up, and for your character, it felt like very natural, and there was nothing weird about the question. And I am wondering what decisions you came to with Sebastian in
Oh
terms
my
of
God.
like what this dynamic is between these two humans.
Well, him and I remember we talked because I think it was important for him too to figure out like why he literally marries this person, like, and then he ends up in like probably, I don't know, out of all of them, probably the happiest. Like, so, I think we just focused on like, and it was super fun because I just remember feeling like joy. Like we were like, we're focusing on joy and camaraderie and they're like best friends. And so I think too, like, just personally, like sometimes I don't know, like you can't help who you're into. And so, like, if there's ever a situation, somebody, chemistry is chemistry. And I just kind of leaned in, like, honestly, I've dated a guy where I've introduced to people and people are like, you're with him. And so I just kind of leaned into it because it's like when you find someone you really like. And I think part of it too, it's like Sebastian and I would talk about how like they're the number one band in the world and then Lisa's like a movie star, so they probably actually only get to be themselves together. So, um yeah, I think we just tried to actually make it like they're just a genuine couple outside of their jobs. And so that I think is funny how I just wanted to make like Lisa his partner and like his equal and even if Mrs. Dunn is shocked. So, yeah, that's kind of where that came from, I guess.
Now that you say that, that does make me kind of look back at the introduction scene between your two characters,
Yeah.
where like Warren approaches Lisa as a guy trying to pick up a girl, not as a big fan of Lisa, the actress.
Yeah,
And I wonder if Lisa's had much of that lately. So, like, maybe that
probably.
was part of what broke through.
Yeah, and like dating maybe the offbeat dude. I mean, we've all probably been curious about it. Like, uh, there's something to be said to date a man that really sees you outside of um external crap. So, uh, pardon my French, but yeah, I think yeah, I just we focused on that a lot.
Yeah. There's one other thing I want to ask about this scene with Mrs. Dunn, and you may not be the right person to talk to about
Sure.
this, but I wanted to see if you had a perspective on it. There's a very interesting choice in how this scene is shot.
Mm,
We get the camera. It sort of starts low. It's a little sort of shooting up at you, but it's going in a circle. And I feel like the only time I've seen something like that is like this big romantic moment where people have their first kiss or something. It feels very sweeping. and very intimate, but it's a conversation between Warren, Lisa, and Mrs. Dunn.
Yeah, yeah,
So it feels like a really unusual and eye-catching choice. And I'm just wondering, like, if you watched this back or if it was discussed on the day, because they clearly had to do this around you, like,
yeah.
what was your thought about what that adds to this scene?
That is like such a great question and so cool because when I'm shooting, I'm so curious about, I feel like setting up shots can totally elude and create like it's almost like another character. And I remember at the end of this episode, it's not this shot, but I remember they shot, I think, Billy at the end of the episode on the plane. And it was just like, I remember being like, his expression too, where he knew his life was about to blow up. Like, and he had all these things to bounce. But that being said, camera's so cool and crazy and can add such an element. I mean, I wasn't involved in camera shooting. If anything, I'm asked to like just make sure I don't run into it or something. But I can imagine because it's like a crescendo nine kind of all of these things are coming to a head. So I don't know. I mean, just as a viewer, I think it's cool because I think there's a lot of kinetic energy happening between all the other characters and the band is kind of becoming a little more frazzled. So I could imagine like a sweeping shot like that is playing into the energy of what's happening with the characters. But I'm above my pay grade, but there's my big fat opinion if you wanted it.
No, I mean, I'm above my pay grade too.
But
So here we are together.
yeah. Yeah.
I now
It's
that
so
you
cool.
say it, like it kind of is like the only functional group
Yeah.
that's at this party that we're going to encounter. Like
Yeah.
this is the healthy relationship.
Yeah, we keep
This is
saying
it.
that. Like, except for, yeah, like there was a joke about like Lauren and Lisa. Well, they're fine. They're fine. Like, and yeah, but he was the guy too that I feel like he was always happy to be in the band. Like, he was just so happy to be, his character was just such a fun-loving person. So I think that is part of it, I guess, too. But it's
Yeah,
so
that's
cool to think of
true.
camera. Setup and how it can bleed into like the dynamics of the relationships and what's to come in the stories and all that. So,
Yeah. Well, if we look at episode 10, which is rock and roll suicide, we're going to see some really it's not exactly a montage. I don't think you'd call it that, but it's a bunch of quick shots of Warren and
yeah,
Lisa's life together during Warren's interview. We see that they got married in 1982. We see a wedding on a boat. We see a family photo with two twin daughters, I guess, in front of the boat. I mean, they're living life, is what we're
yeah,
seeing.
they are.
And it unfolds fast. So I mean, it seems like all of this happened on a boat for you on the
Yeah.
day. Like
Yeah.
would this have been shot all in one day from just different angles of the boat, or what do you
I
remember
think
about how this came
I
together?
can't really remember, but that was our wedding shot was the first time I met Sebastian and the first time
Oh,
I met everybody. Like, so I was scared because I was in this huge wedding dress and like huge 80s hair. And then when we were getting on the boat, like it was a bit rocky or something. And I remember like, the crew is so precious with actors. And I understand because there are a lot of actors that are so precious, but they were trying to help me on the boat for safety reasons. And I was like, no, no, I got it. Like I grew up on the water or whatever. And I swung around the boat and like almost fell completely in the water. But that's what I really remember from that day. And then I just remember everybody had a big laugh and was excited I didn't fall in the water. But yeah, I think we did shoot all of them. We must have. We must have. I can't really remember,
I
but
think it
we
was
must have.
all on a boat, so it must. I don't know if it was all one day,
And
but it feels
yeah,
like
but
you just
there.
got the boat from this angle, and then you got the boat from this angle, different
Yeah,
wardrobe,
it's so
a
funny
couple
we
kids.
end up on a boat. Like, yeah, but Warren, I guess, knew what he wanted. So yeah, we did. And then we changed and I think and then we met those kids that were our daughters and our twins and we held them up and did it. And it was fun.
What a strange first day of
Yeah.
work.
Yep. Then I didn't see them again till New Orleans, like a month later. And that's where I felt like, and oh, because that was 10. And so then we shot 9. So in New Orleans, I just ended up staying. Like they were bouncing my scenes between like 2 months, but I just stayed the full 2 months and I just stayed in New Orleans. So that was like an experience for sure.
But once you've had this day on set, especially with Sebastian, because you know you're going to have scenes with him
Yeah.
later, so it was like a full month between the
Yeah.
what you shot for 10 and what you shot for 9. Were you then able to like stay in touch with him or anybody to try to sort out how you wanted to do what was coming up in episode 9?
I don't really remember, but I remember in New Orleans, like we all became pretty close. Like it wasn't like a thing where we didn't hang out. So I definitely, Sebastian, Will, and Josh and I definitely became like fun, you know, loving people in New Orleans and definitely explored the city and like went to restaurants and kind of became friends. And like through that, I think it made shooting and any fear I had about like shooting the scene that I meet Warren or shooting like more or being around the cast like way less. And it was such a cool thing to do.
Mm.
And then also to learn from them too, like what they were going through and how much they had to learn. And then yeah, like it's a huge show to carry. Like it's an insane show to carry. Even though it just did one season, I was kind of in awe of all of the music stuff they had to learn and then like to pause during COVID. It's insane, but seems like one of the most beautiful, gratifying things you could do.
And to know that the book is loved and then like
Right.
to not know the audience reaction as you're doing the whole thing and just hoping for the best when it comes out. Like that there's
Yeah.
I'm sure all of that would have been building up by the time you got there.
Yes, especially because, yeah, it's like, and it's at the tail end. And these people have also been working together for like 3, 4 years now, like, especially with the pandemic. Like, you never know when you come in at the tail end of something, if you just, it's kind of like everybody, like getting to school, like in the senior year or something. Like, it's just, you want to be liked and you don't, and especially if you have like a smaller part, you don't want to be the thing that's like dragging the really cool ship down. So I was just really lucky that all of them, all of the cast, no matter like what they've done before or like where they're at in their life, were just so focused on making it the best and being so kind and helpful to me. So
Mm.
yeah, I feel like that was a long-winded answer to
No,
did
that's what I'm here for. Wait till you see my episode coverage. It's like 2 hours an episode. The so when I think about like that montage, well, the montage-ish that we see in episode 10, we're telling the story of Lisa's future, but I think there's so much more to be told there. Like when
Mhm.
you think about like in the voiceover that we're hearing from Warren, he's saying he had, you know, he did session drumming and then he had his life with Lisa. So he has a work-life balance.
Mhm.
What do you think Lisa's life looked like during this time? Was it all about the family she had created? Did she go back to work? Like, did you have any thoughts about where this woman would be now?
It was interesting because I guess like as an actress playing an actress, you do kind of wonder like, like what would that all look like? But I do think too, like when you fall in love like that, that kind of becomes, at least for me, like it becomes the thing, like the biggest thing. So I could see them having like a bit of their like rock and roll life together and like doing the big carpets and movies and fantasy life and then, you know, going and chilling out and having kids on a boat. And so I could see them kind of being like that perfect couple where they have these huge careers and then they have a great work-life balance. And yeah, I think that's kind of how I like to leave it in my head at least. But I could see Lisa fully going into being a mom. I mean, I'm a twin. I have a twin brother, so I know that you need time for that.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I mean, if in theory, like if Warren's doing session drumming, he doesn't mention touring with any other bands, so he'd be
Perhaps it's
stable.
like a
Like,
Mr. Crown situation, like maybe he's just doing sessions so she can film and yeah,
I feel
that's
like from the way they get introduced, I could totally believe that's where this
yeah.
relationship goes, you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah, let's do that. Let's say it would became Mr. Yeah, Crown.
Okay. Well, that's one theory we're putting
Yeah,
out
that's
there.
a
I love
theory.
it.
Yeah.
So one of the things that I love about the show is that there's so many powerful women characters, and that includes the women that come in for an episode or two in various,
Yeah.
like the moms of the show, or the, like we see so many what feels like pretty fleshed out women characters who have a voice, and maybe even more of a voice than the man in the relationship, than their
Yeah.
partner. Um, so I guess just in your mind, what kind of legacy does this show leave in that respect in terms of like telling a woman's story?
Whoa. Um
I went hard hitting.
no
I softened you
pressure.
up with the
Um
rock and
um
roll suicide question, and then here we are.
yeah. Wow. I mean that's such a freaking cool question. I feel like every woman a part of this would answer differently, which is why it's also cool. Um, but I think it's a testament to the writers and like our filmmaking team because, and also, Nzinga was just so powerful in that part and just cared so much about point of view, I think, of her characters on screen. And I think it also kind of like this story shows this is going to sound so cheesy still, but I just think women are so dynamic and so cool. And just as an artist, like it can be really hard to, you get pulled in a lot of different directions. And I think that that is shown um, in the show a lot through like Daisy and through Cammy's character and like Suki's character. It's like there's a lot that the women are carrying on themselves, but they ultimately push through and do like the show must go on. And like, frankly, they're like pillars of strength for the boys. And like, it's, I think, I don't know, I think the whole thing just shows how strong women can be. And, we all have cracks of ourselves, I think, in a lot of the women characters in this show, even if like you're not a musician or it's like we've all been in dynamics like that where we've had to make really hard choices and sometimes you don't always get what you want, but then you do. So I think it just did a really good job showing like how strong women can be and not only holding like the family front or like creative front or work front, but I don't know, there's so many layers to it, like with all the women.
They really
Sorry.
are. I
Such
mean,
a
no two
couple
of them
again.
are anything alike. It's
No.
interesting to see all those different like pictures painted for us.
Yeah.
I thought I'd give you a softer question here. Did you have
Sure.
a favorite Daisy Jones and the Six song?
Oh my God, yeah. Oh. Oh, that's really hard, actually. The
Yeah.
one that like I would just drive around LA with like my best friend. Oh, that I made a bar play one night, which is insane. But I forced a bar to put on Honeycomb and when it was closing. And that was fun. So I do really love Honeycomb, but then I do like I think it's called By Myself.
Yeah,
I
that
think
sounds right.
Riley, and that one really, I'll sing in the car too. That one really gets to me.
Hmm.
So those two I go back and forth with a lot.
And Billy Dunn himself would be very happy that you called the song Honeycomb because he's like the only one in this show that
I
continues to
call it
call it
honeycomb
that.
too. Yeah, look at us now. Whatever. Real ones call it honeycomb. Yeah, real ones call it
We're
honeycomb.
here for you, Billy Dunn.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, that brings me to this. Like, I know that you've seen the show. So, outside of your own scenes, were there, like, what other storylines were particularly compelling for you?
Oh my God. Okay, another probably gonna be long-winded, but I nerded out on so many scenes. But One that this sounds so crazy because no lines were said, but it was in the first episode when Daisy is asked what it was like to meet Billy. And there's something about how Riley interacted with that question. And I think she literally just went like, it was just so insane to me as an actor because it was such a loaded response and she didn't say a line. Like it's just I saw the whole situationship on her face. Like it was insane. And I just remember being like, this is the first episode and she's doing this. Like I was blown away by that. And then yeah, I just think that whole thing is just addicting to watch. And then I don't know. I mean, watching also like Suki's character choose herself at the end of the day, but also kind of having enough um like self-awareness to know she's not what Will's character needed is was interesting and heartbreaking to watch. I don't the whole thing was a really if I can't really pick one moment, but that scene Riley did for some reason in the first episode really shocks me.
I love that you highlighted that because I'm
Yeah.
not an
Do you
actor,
remember
so
that part?
I do, yeah. But now I would
It's like a
watch it with different
little
eyes.
sound. Yeah, it's so I suggest you watch it again because it just floored me for that. Yeah.
So good. And I love the also the way that you put it about Suki's character, about Karen, because
Yeah.
she chooses herself, but also in a way,
Mm,
she chooses Will for Will.
totally.
You know, it's like actually what I want is to be with him,
Yeah.
but what he needs is not
Yeah.
me.
Yeah.
So it's like
Like
this really
ultimate love.
interesting, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. It was like to me, I was like, that's mature love. Like to know that selfishly or not selfishly she wants him, but to know that it's not the life she wants or needs, but it would be selfish to stay with him is so hard and heartbreaking and
And by the time you get there in that episode, when you see those interviews, when it really, what I sit with is like when Karen is revealing all of that, you can tell she still kind of holds a torch for him
oh my God,
because
yeah.
but he is oblivious to it and
I
he's been
know.
able to live his best life. And so she's been sort of carrying that for both of them so that he could have the family he wanted. But
It's
yeah, it's a really
yeah,
powerful story for
yeah,
sure.
yeah, definitely.
Well, given that this was a period piece, what were your favorite elements of that time period that you got to interact with when you came to set?
I mean, I'm not gonna lie, like period pieces are my favorite to work on. Like I I've booked the majority of period pieces. So like the music is always the first thing for me of working on something. So like I will religiously listen. Like I made a playlist for Daisy Jones of like what year we would all be like what if we turn on the radio, like what would be on. So that is like so fun. And then usually on period pieces, like everybody is game to kind of like bleed into that era with you. So like I think we all kind of dressed like it, listened to it, and kind of just slipped into it. And also filming in New Orleans is such a heavily music influenced place. So that was really fun. And then like the costumes, like walking on set and being able to look at like crazy pieces from that time was just awesome.
Hmm.
Um yeah, 70s especially seemed like a crazy period. Like what a decade. I remember actually talking to Tom Wright about it, and we had a long conversation. This was like the first night I got to New Orleans, and he was telling me about the 70s and 80s were like decades of yes. And I remember thinking like, oh, like how do we bring that energy into um the show or something where yeah, it's a different worries, different people, different problems, but a decade of yes. I was like, okay, Tom Wright, I'm gonna remember that.
Like, that's good. That's a good
Yeah.
mentality to bring with you into a scene. I love it.
Yeah.
Well, in terms of, you've mentioned this a little bit along the way, but Did you have any other favorite moments from being on set or just from the experience of working on it for you as a person, not just, like Lisa, the character?
Yeah. Oh my God. Well, like anytime you work on a job, like you get to meet such characters and new people and like different walks of life. So I think this was really cool because I had so much respect for the show's leads. And so it was really cool to be able to get to know them and work with them and learn from them. And also, like, everybody was so funny. And for me, like, my love language is humor for sure. And I just remember, like, every day I went to set, like, we would always laugh really hard, even if it's like, the airport scene, we all had to come out of the jet. And so I was sitting there with them for like hours and hours and hours, but like I just remember laughing like really hard. Like everybody just had such a really great sense of humor, and like Sebastian and I would go see live music, and like I was able to stay friends with Josh and Will back in LA. So it's I think one of my favorite parts about working is like you never know if like you end up staying close or staying friends with people, and um yeah, making something like this and like something that's you really care about and believe in or are proud to be a part of, it's like a very bonding, special, like mini college or something. Summer camp. It's like a weird summer camp.
Yeah.
So yeah, there were so many. Um, but New Orleans jazz was really cool. My mom got to come and see the jazz, and that was special.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. Well, you've mentioned some names along the way here, but are there any other people from the cast or crew that maybe you didn't already mention that you wanted to be able to shout out? Could be unsung heroes or just people that you really like, they did great work on set and you were happy to work with them.
Well, Rebecca, like the head makeup artist, she was freaking just on it and so cool and like so loving. And I feel like people, like a big part of feeling comfortable as an actor is trusting like who you're around and who's like helping you get on set. And then Nzinga was like just I mentioned her a lot, but she's just one of the coolest people and filmmakers I think like that's working. And the casting directors were amazing, and they were just I it couldn't have been better cast, I thought. Like it was such a hard thing to cast such loved characters, and um yeah, it was just so cool to
Well,
work on.
I know it's been the strangest time for your industry that you're all still sort of coming out of, but I
Yeah.
wanted to ask, however you want to interpret this question, like what are you up to now, or is there a project you want to plug, recent, long past, upcoming, whatever? Like
Yeah. I
what
mean, I do have something coming out really soon. I am not allowed to talk about it though. So
okay,
I don't um I can't plug it.
okay, that's
But
fair.
yeah, I go where the wind takes me.
That's the move. I mean, as anybody who lives on a boat would say.
Yes, I live on a boat actually. I never left the harbor.
There it
So
is.
yeah, I took the donut and I never left the harbor.
That's it. Well, oh
Mhm.
my goodness. Is there anything else you wanted to say about the show that I didn't get an opportunity to ask about?
I don't know. I don't think so. I
Yeah,
think, yeah.
we covered some ground here.
Heard
I'm
some
feeling good about it.
places. Yeah.
Thank you so much for taking all this time to talk with
God,
me about this
thank
show.
you. Thank you for bringing up one of like the best memories I've ever had. So thank you. And
Oh,
thanks
that's
for
really nice
watching
to
it.
hear.
Yeah. Thank you for watching it.
And to everybody who was watching this, thank you for watching and
Yeah.
go out there. Don't be the muse, be the somebody.
Yes. That's so true.
Bye, everyone.